Good morning, everybody. It's David and Jen here with David Christophers, and we're excited as usual to be back with you all with some brand new, fresh ideas. I don't know that we've ever done a video quite like this one before.
I don't know that we have.
But today's the day, right?
Yeah. Always looking for something new. I don't know, something different.
David is going to be doing some porch planters. I think, 3 different ideas?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe you need some ideas for your porch. We've got them. And we have the artificial florals to go along with it so that you don't have to worry about having a green thumb because you can't kill them.
Right. And they're super easy. The goal is to make these incredibly easy to build. And then, like Jen said, there's no maintenance.
No maintenance. And then you can disassemble them and use your urn or your pot, whatever you have, again and again and again, which is what we like. So you don't have to buy something new all the time.
Right.
Except for the flowers.
Use the urn, pull the flowers out. We're going to show you how to pull pretty much the whole thing out at one time. And then you can save that, put it back in, but you can do, summer, fall, Christmas, just kind of keep going.
Yay, exciting. Well, let's jump right into it.
So for this first porch pot idea, we're going to be using this cast aluminum. It's got some significant weight to it, just so you know. If you need something that's not going to blow over, these are not going to blow over. This is pretty wide base. It's probably a 12 by 12-ish, maybe 13 by 13 base that's square. So you get a significant amount of space down there to keep this from knocking over. And if you were to buy this, just letting everyone know, these do come what we consider knockdown packed. So this cast aluminum urn is going to come in 2 pieces. This piece will be on top of this piece, and you just take that one out, and it's got threads on the bottom. So this is just going to sit in the middle of the pedestal, and then we're going to have to spin. Beneficial if someone holds the bottom. Thank you. Taking this one together and put it.
Why don't you twist it from the upside down? Put it together upside down. Just do the top into the bottom. Leave this down. It'll be more sturdy. It won't twist. Just twist from here. You got more of a base.
That might be an easier way to go.
Yep, you're making more progress.
So for this, we are going to be using some styrofoam, and I have a 12 by 12 piece of styrofoam that we will send to you with this kit if you buy it. And if you have your own urn, great. We're going to try and do the kits for florals separately from the urn. You can buy them together or you can buy them separate. If you have your own urn, great. We'll send you this. 12 by 12 should fit most anyone's urn. As you can see, this is a very large urn, and this goes all the way to the sides on every angle. And then the inside is narrower than that. So we're going to shave that down to this size, and I'll show you how to do that in the next video. But really, we just want this one to go all the way to the bottom. So we're going to be using this mini poppy spray. This is our Flowering Fields poppy spray. It's one of my favorite items. Very light, very wispy, and this is going to be a great height for us once we place this in the styrofoam. And you can sit here and just do this. We're going to be doing a red, yellow, and well, actually, this is our dark yellow. We have a lighter yellow. Red, yellow, and our light orange, which is kind of a peachy color. We're going to be mixing those together. We want this very like spring, summer feel to it. almost like lantana colors, something along those lines. And we're just going to mix this up. So we could sit here and just one by one place these, mix all the colors, or there's another way to do it. If you want the fast way, you really just take all the tags off, and then we're going to try and get these kind of evened up a little bit, and just kind of toss them down in there, and then pull a couple of them up. But the majority of them are going to stay in the styrofoam pretty well just from tossing them in this bucket. This is just kind of mixed up. If you feel like you ended up with too much yellow in one spot, move some around. But for the most part, pretty quick and easy to just toss them all in one at one time. Since we've got so many, you know, there's that's really just kind of what we're going to end up with. Is we want this really wildflower style. When these come to, you are going to want to cut the tag off of them and then separate each individual stem. They've got a little plastic piece that you got to pull apart, but you're going to want to separate them more like this instead of all together like that. I've kind of already done that for this, so you don't have to go in and individually do every little thing. And then we are going to have some clematis spray that we're going to want to cut, and we're going to cut this about half of this stem off, and we're going to tuck that in so that we can pull it out in different spaces. We want it to stretch kind of along the sides of the front of this, so it's going to come more like this, very flat. And we're going to cut the tag off, and then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to separate all these little individual branches. You can separate the leaves if you need to. Occasionally they'll get stacked on top of each other. You just get a little more coverage out of it like that. Separate all those little leaves. Very wispy, very vine looking like something's growing. We're going to cut that about halfway. And do the same thing. We're going to go around the outside edge of this, and we're going to pull some more toward this side, more towards the corners, and then we've got a couple more pieces. That we're going to add in there. And then, like I said, if you want to rearrange any of your poppies, you can move those to whatever space you desire. But I like to come and just kind of bend a few of these, separate a few of these out more in the front, just so they look like they're growing in different directions. You don't want to have too much of a cluster. Like I've got a little too much yellow maybe here. We'll move one of these guys around. If we can get one out. Put the red back.
So no glue is being used. You're just using the styrofoam and the
no
stems.
glue. And these will stay really, really well where we placed them. So yeah, super easy to do this. And not a lot of effort involved, not a lot of time, but you get this really nice wildflower look going on, and you get this multicolor feel that's great for spring or summer. This I think would go really well right through the summer season, and it looks like something that's kind of growing, that's planted into your planter, and you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to water it, you don't have to think about it, and it is ready to go. Now, I will say that this urn may be larger than some people's, so we will probably do like a half-size kit In case you don't need 36 stems, maybe you only need 18 or 20. But since we've got 3 colors, we'll probably do it in 18. You'll get 6 of each color and maybe a little less of the clematis spray so that we can give you options for how you want to do your planter. Some people have a much narrower planter than this one, but this is probably about the right height for most people. Now, like I said, if you want to remove everything, you can just kind of pull from the styrofoam and just take it all at one time and save it. Like if you had wanted to put this in individually, it would stay together really well. It stays together pretty well without putting it in individually. But now we're going to show you how to shave this down, because for our next example, we're going to need the styrofoam to not go all the way to the bottom. We want it to stop somewhere around here. And to do that, you are going to need a knife. You don't have to use a curved blade like this, but it's the one I'm using. And we're going to start by taking the corners off of the styrofoam. To where we get more of a octagon shape. And then we're going to, I'm going to take that down just a little bit more, not a lot. We're almost in, and then we can take these corners down, and we're going to get, once we take these corners out, we're going to have more of a rounded shape. So as long as we keep taking the corners off, we're going to end up with a roundish shape. It doesn't have to be perfect. We're not going to sit there and, I mean, you can do the thing where you put the pencil in and draw a string around it if you want to get a perfect circle, but I'm way too lazy for that. So we've got our roundish shape and it sits pretty close to the top. We want to go down a little bit further because we're not using any moss or anything to hide the styrofoam here. So to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to cut at an angle, because most urns kind of flare out a little bit, and this is going to allow it to sit down a little bit further.
I feel like we should do a kids don't try this at home disclaimer.
What? Cut? Yeah. You're supposed to cut away from
Yeah,
yourself. You're supposed to cut like this. That's how I cut myself when I do it like that. Let me alter my path here. But we're really not trying to take too much out of the top. It's more just this space at the bottom. So we kind of tapered that. And now that goes in and then wedges down in our urn much better. Just make sure when you push this in that you push from the sides instead of from the middle, because you can punch all the way through if you put too much pressure on it. But if you push from the side, it's just going to wedge it into the urn really well. Like, you can't pull that out easily at all. So, like I said, we needed a little bit more height in our styrofoam because we have these Dusty Miller that we're going to be using. And as you can see, the stem on these is not as long as the poppies, but we're going to be pushing that in to where it kind of comes over the sides a little bit. We want a little bit coming up in the middle. And we're just going to be using a couple of these. And again, we want some to come toward the front, some to come toward the back, some to be in the middle. And then we are going to use our little frosted eucalyptus bunch here. We're going to have a few of these that we're going to just kind of interlace some of these stems. You want some to go over the eucalyptus, just like they're mixed. Just over the edges. That's really what we're trying to hide the most of, is you just don't want people to be able to see the styrofoam here. Makes it look much less natural if you can see that bright, shiny plastic stuff down in the bottom. And just some of the things that you can do to make it look very natural, very planted. Like, you don't really have to add anything to that, but we're going to. We're going to keep going with our mini poppy sprays, and this time we're going to be using light purple. And for this, because they are, because we lifted our styrofoam up higher, we're going to be pushing those down a little bit further than we did the last time, and trying to separate these out a little bit more, just for the sake of, we're going to be using less of them because we already had added the greenery. But we're going to be using this light purple, we're going to be using light blue, and we're going to be using a dark blue. So like I said, we're going to separate those out to where they mix a lot. And we want those to bend in a lot of different directions. You don't want the heads to all face the same spot. And since we've got a dark blue on this side, we're going to put a dark blue on the other side. Some of that to come over the edge. And then we've got more purple, kind of a lavender purple. And we are going to go a little heavy on the purple because it will tone down some of the blue. And it makes a really good mix once we get all of that in there.
So I know we're going to get some questions about how does this hold up outdoors. So could you talk about that for a minute?
How does it hold up outdoors? Well, I would suggest that this is more of a, if you have a overhang like a porch, that you would be using that more for something that is completely covered than you would for something that is completely outside. Not that you couldn't put it outside, but just as a matter of, you know, we would rather in the sun and the wind, the rain, the elements, you know, sometimes it's not as forgiving as when it's not rained on and when it doesn't get, you know, full sun all of the time, because eventually the fabrics on some of these things will fade. And, you know, that's usually you'll notice it more on the petals first, because this is plastic and it's already a lighter color. But that's just my personal thoughts on it, is that, you know, I would use this if I had a covered porch. But I would also probably do the same thing if I was trying to use real flowers. There are some things you would put on a porch and some things that you would, you know, not want to get full sun, and some things that you would. So, you know.
But if they get a little wet, it's fine.
Yeah, wet's not that big a deal. You just, like, if they're poured on constantly, sometimes the fabric can kind of get too heavy. Gravity does have an effect on things, but for the most part, you know, these will be great and outside. So this is probably 4 or 5 inches, roughly. Some maybe just a little bit more, but somewhere in that 4 to 6 inch range. We're going to stick those poppies through, and then as you can see, the Dusty Miller and the eucalyptus are not going to go all the way through the styrofoam for the most part, and our styrofoam is going to be about 3 inches down. That's kind of the optimal goal here. And then you can...
Idea number 3.
So for this one, we're going to be using a different iron. This one is a little lighter weight. This is like more of a steel, tin kind of metal, but it's been painted, more of an antique finish. I think we've got these in a few colors, but really sturdy still. Not going to be damaged if it falls over or something. not as heavy as the other one, so you could potentially put like rocks or a brick or something down in the base of this one. But for this example, we're really not going to be adding much of anything to it. We're just going to be adding some styrofoam at the base, and I don't need the whole sheet because the opening narrows much more on this one than it does the other one.
This is sort of a distressed container.
A what?
Distressed?
Yes, it is. So there's two things that we could do. We could put our styrofoam a little higher up and not have the piece down at the bottom, but it just kind of depends on what you want to do. What I'm intending to do is place this garden trellis on top, which we could put some styrofoam here so we could stake this into it. But it depends on what you want to do. Some people want to be able to take it out very easily. Some people don't. It just really depends on you. You can use the extra part of this piece if you choose to. Let's just kind of give you an idea of what that would be like. We're just going to cut a little bit larger than the smaller piece that we did. We're going to shave corners off. So that it just goes in about 3 inches, 2.5, 3 inches is about all we need for that. And then we're just going to make sure that your fleur-de-lis is turned flat facing front. You don't want it like this. That's kind of weird. So wherever you're going to say the front is, make sure that the fleur-de-lis is aligned with the square part on the bottom of your urn. Round doesn't matter, but square will. If it's like this and you put your fleur-de-lis in at the front, it's going to look kind of goofy. You'll have to redo that. So just make sure you kind of line that up. And then press your trellis down in. And a lot of our customers actually use these for live flowers, live plants. But we're going to be using them with, guess what? Poppies and clematis, which seems to be our running theme for today. And for that, we're going to be placing our poppies. And like I said, if you don't want to stake the trellis in, then you don't have to actually use this top piece of styrofoam. You will need to push the stems in a little bit further. But we do want some to come, you know, toward the, we don't want them going out really. We want them inside the trellis for the most part. And we're just going to put them mostly in the middle because we're going to be going around with our clematis vine after. But it is okay to let them kind of grow out the side. Don't worry if they come out the sides. That just makes it look very natural as you're placing these. I'm going to trip on my styrofoam. I am in actual shoes for the first time in a little while.
Yeah, that's true.
Not in a boot today. That's great. Toe is healing pretty well. I think I may be able to stop bandaging it soon, hopefully.
Yeah, it seems like a little bit every day you've complained a little less with it and haven't mentioned it as much.
It's been a slow go. I'm missing part of my toe. Sad. They said part of the toe bone will grow back though, so yeah.
Yeah,
we'll see.
I wasn't really sure how that worked. I thought that bone could grow back, but
My wire cutters.
know what the rules are on that.
I'm not sure what the rules are on that either. Floral rules, now they're meant to be broken too, so I'm assuming the surgeons just kind of go on their own. So we are going to cut, let's say 4 inches, 3.5, 4 inches off of our clematis vine. And then we are going to push that down into the styrofoam. Actually, I take that back. I'm going to cut a little more. Let's call it 5 to 6 inches. I can just use that same hole that I already made, because we want this to go down pretty fair ways inside. We're going to use some of the clematis itself. We want that to hide the styrofoam, but we also want some of this clematis to be able to grow up our trellis like it's growing out. So about 6 inches.
This video may take the record for loudest video we've ever made.
I apologize. It is the styrofoam's fault.
I know, that's what I mean. Just all the styrofoam cutting and pressing and stabbing.
Well, like I said, you don't actually have to use it. It's more of a preference. If you want it to stay together really well, I would suggest using the styrofoam. If you more are just interested in the look and everything, for it to be temporary and not have to be extremely permanent, then I say go no styrofoam. I actually had this one put together without any styrofoam earlier when I was just trying to make sure it was going to work correctly.
It would be really hard from a distance to tell that that is not real. This is on your porch and someone's driving by.
Well, that is the goal, to try to make sure it looks very realistic. And for this, we're going to cut a few of these branches off. If you were going without styrofoam, you wouldn't necessarily need to do that, just because the clematis is going to go a little deeper into the planter. But that's also, when we cut it a little bit, it's going to give us a little more foliage coverage into the middle, so that we do not see that styrofoam like we were talking about. Well, the only thing you could do is cut some of these longer pieces if you feel like they get too long. But I like some of the really trailing parts of the clematis. That really helps. But if it starts to overlap anywhere, you can always cut like a super long piece. And that's pretty much it for our trellis piece.
And there you have it. 3 porch planter DIYs that we believe you can do at home on your porch, don't you think?
Easily.
Yeah, you can all do this. We have faith in you. Check out the description and you're going to find a link to everything that was used in today's video, as well as a link to our website in general, so you can shop everything. But specifically, we make it super easy so you can buy these. I'm going to have the kits put together. Takes the guesswork out. You don't have to watch to see how many items we used of each thing. It'll just be all there, ready, easy, click. And we're shipping fairly quickly right now.
Yeah, usually within 1 to 2 days.
Yeah, so you're going to get this, well, I say that, depending on the carrier, and we typically ship FedEx.
It's very rare that we ship USPS.
Yeah, so we're usually shipping FedEx and UPS.
Because we don't know if you'll ever get it.
They're fairly reliable. I would say most of the time. We don't have as many problems, especially this time of year. Now when it's Christmas season, everybody has issues because everyone's inundated with orders and the trucks are full and it can get a little crazy. But we hope you have a wonderful weekend. We hope that this inspired you to create your own porch planters, gave you some confidence that you can do it, because we believe in you. Follow us on Facebook, on Instagram. Send us pictures of your creations so we can share them in our story if you've used our David Christopher's products. We love to see what you're doing with those at home. And as always, if you have any questions, message us and let us know. Comment below and let us know which one of these is more your style. Obviously, this is not in a planner, but are you more of the...
I like that one with the stems showing.
I like this one best. Just set it on your porch. Do you like the blues and the purples? Do you like more of the garden trellis? Do you like the bright colored poppies? We would love to know what your preference is because that can help us to know what to do for the next video.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
You never know what we're going to do.
Never know. We never know what we're going to do.
That's true.
It's always a surprise.
That's very true.
So, happy spring!